For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
This week's Law & Order Marathon winner is Mary Riley from Montague, Massachusetts. Mary will get a marathon decal showing she watched 26.2 hours of her favorite crime show. To be next week's winner, sign up at lawandorderpodcast.com.
I'm Kevin Flynn with Rebecca Lavoie and Lily Flynn, and these are their stories.
You think you know who did it, but you don't know who did it. Law and order, law and order, law and order. It's no ordinary police procedural, baby. It's the FNOG of police procedurals, baby. Law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order. These are their stories, these are their stories.
Welcome to These Are Their Stories, the podcast about network TV's most enduring crime franchise and the real-life cases that inspired their shows. I'm Kevin Flynn. Each podcast will break down an episode from either Criminal Intent, SVU, or Original Recipe. And today we're looking at Special Victims Unit, Season 10, Episode 12, Hothouse.
Your rich white girl has 160 IQ and no history of abuse, addiction, or mental illness. Don't tell me she didn't know what she did was wrong.
She's 14 years old. Are you the same person that you were back then?
At 14, I wasn't a murderer.
Joining me to do just that is true crime author and the host of Crime Writers On and Netflix's You Can't Make This Up podcasts, Rebecca Lavoie. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Kevin. Hold on. I just have to wipe the carbonated proteins out of my eyes.
That's so nuts. We have to talk about that. And rounding out our panel is our special guest, the person that has been announcing the marathon winners for years. From the first 10 seconds of the These Are the Stories podcast, it's Lily Flynn. Hello, Lily.
Hi, how are you?
That's
Nepotism.
That's my daughter, Lily Flynn. Lily, you've always wanted to be a guest on the podcast.
I know. I made a TikTok for you to use because I've been asking for years and everyone has to know.
Instead of just asking, what did you do to prepare for this appearance?
I mean, I've been watching SVU since the beginning. I've seen now 11 seasons straight through. Haven't skipped one.
Wow. That's commitment.
That's good. She said, if I got to do this, I got to be prepared.
We have so many guests who've literally never seen it before, and this is the first time they've ever watched one.
I know, and then he was always like, you're not ready, you've only seen one show, and I was like, I think I'm pretty qualified by this point, so I think I wore you down.
Yeah, well, you didn't, well, to be fair, Lily never came out and asked, but I always knew this was her
dream.
Her dream was to
Really?
be on Dad's podcast.
What are some of the
which
other,
is a shitty dream, but
what are some of the other dreams she has that you know she has that you've been denying her for no reason?
A pony? Well, then,
Yes.
Lily Flynn, of all the franchises, which two cops are your favorite Law & Order detective team?
Favorite Law and Order detective team.
I've been waiting for you to ask me this question for so long. My favorite two cops are easily Munch and Finn.
Yeah.
I know Olivia and Stabler is like a classic choice, but I enjoy a good Finn and Munch episode or just a Finn episode because you get so many good one-liners that you will never get on an Olivia and Elliot episode.
Facts.
I really enjoy Finn. And as you know, I maybe won't rant to your listeners, but I do not enjoy Elliot Stabler as much as other people
Because you have good taste. I love Chris Maloney. It's not about Chris Maloney.
Yes, it is not about Chris Maloney. It's just about his character annoys me 80% of the time. Finn never annoys me.
Looks like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And Lily, who's your favorite prosecutorial team?
Favorite Law and Order District Attorney Prosecutorial Team.
You know, I like a lot of them. I think I love Casey Novak the most.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of time with Alex and I've had a lot of time with Casey. But the thing that edges Casey up just a smidge more for me than Alex is I feel like Casey is always more helpful than hindrance to them. Mm-hmm. And I know sometimes Alex is like, oh, like, you don't have enough evidence. That's her job. That's fair. But Casey's always like, no, you're right. We shouldn't put this guy back on the street. What can I do to help? How can I, what little charge can I give him to buy you time? Like, and I always agree with her moral compass as opposed to the police's moral compass, I think.
So you agree with her prosecutorial misconduct and colluding with the police to do potentially civil rights violating things? Cool. No, actually, generally speaking,
I have failed as a parent.
I like Casey too. I like Casey too because her look changes so much that sometimes when I watch an old episode, I'm like, wait, that's Casey. She's a redhead here. Now she's a blonde. Now she's a brunette. Like, you never know what you're going to get. I like that. You too, right, Kevin?
I love that about her. All right, now let's take a look at the first half of this episode. Special Victims Unit, Season 10, Episode 12, Hothouse. Well, nothing says rise and shine, New York, like a body in the Hudson River. Benson and Stabler are called to the waterfront to investigate a teen recovered from the river.
You have any idea what she went in?
No sign of fish fat on her, so she couldn't have been in long.
Long enough to get rid of anything that's going to help us.
Even the river couldn't get rid of this. She bled from her wounds, which means her heart was pumping, and she was alive when she sustained them. Head bashed in, puncture wounds to the breast.
God, she's got scars all over her.
Warner uses the Bat computer to determine the young victim was from the Ukraine. So naturally, she was sex trafficked. The detectives zone in on apparently the only sex trafficker from the Ukraine in New York.
Yeah.
So naturally, Liv goes undercover as a madam looking to buy some girls. They bust the pimp who says the victim isn't a prostitute. She's the pride and joy of the Ukrainian-American mathematics community, student prodigy Elsa Lynchkoff. At the prestigious Morewood Academy, they weren't even aware that their most famous student was missing. Her roommate, chess nerd Jennifer Banks, says prim and proper Elsa had a wild side that she was trying to hide from her strict father. Mr. Lynchkoff is devastated at the loss of his only daughter. That is until Benson and Stabler meet his other daughter. The one that he kicked out of the house because her IQ was only 135. Katrina says she and her sister were locked up in the basement to nurture their intellect and finish their studies while their dad struck them with yardsticks and burnt them with cigarettes when they got the answers wrong. Fathers and their daughters.
So complicated.
Under interrogation, they learn Lynchkoff washed out as an aerospace engineer, has a huge gambling debt, and has been living off of Elsa's stipend from Morewood Academy. When Mom turns on him verifying the abuse, the distraught Lynchkoff bangs his head into the wall until he literally knocks himself out. All right, well, if you do Tai Chi or hot yoga with silly names for positions, you're eventually going to get skewered on SVU.
Let your chi flow. Does anyone remember the next form?
Body in water.
No, snake creeps down.
No, I mean there's a body in the water.
Yes, but wasn't that sort of like weird and racist the way the lady said that? Like, you know, body in water. Like she was sort of like using the Tai Chi pose lingo to sort of describe. I mean, is she that programmed where she can't get out of the Tai Chi? I thought that was a very strange way to point out the body.
What was weird to me is that the woman didn't say no, like that's not a pose. She was just like, no, not yet. Body in water, come in later.
So to get the ID, Warner runs a carbon dating test on her eyes.
Yes.
Any closer on the ID?
No hit on her prints and missing persons came up empty. But I can tell you she's 14 years and 2 months old. I carbon dated the crystalline proteins in her eyes.
Is she a caveman?
All I know is that this technique exists. Why hasn't she used it in like 100 other episodes where they couldn't figure out where the person was from?
Yeah, I thought you did it I thought maybe if you could do it through your teeth or something. I've heard that, but then she was like her eyes, and I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Why
and then
not?
she does the isotope analysis.
I ran an isotope analysis of her hair. It measures oxygen intake from drinking water, which varies from geographical location. The most recent growth shows that she's been in New York the past couple of months. Before that, distinct markers put her in the Ukraine.
She's way ahead of the curve for someone who has such a shitty office.
Yeah, but also the body's been there for like 2 hours. Why not just fingerprint her? Or something other than treat her like it's the Smithsonian. And they found unfrozen caveman lawyer or something. Yeah, so the hair isotopes, it finds that she has been in New York but was originally from the Ukraine. But 10 minutes later we find out, no, she has no accent because she isn't an immigrant. She was born in the U.S. So good job, science.
Yeah, it's this whole episode, there's like a thing, and you're like, ooh. And then it's like not that thing, and then no one ever talks about it again. Where is the accountability? Now I know why Warner has such a shitty office. Which, by the way, Lily, did you notice how shitty her office was?
Yeah, it was so sad. I was like, Warner's been here longer. Like, she deserves a bit of a She deserves a raise. Let's just say that.
She shouldn't have an office where she's got to share it with a dead body. So at the end of the autopsy, Warner says that she can help.
It's going to be tough to ID her.
I know a woman who might be able to better your odds. She runs an organization that helps trafficked girls. Her name's Grace Metcalf.
She knows someone who works with trafficked girls, the medical examiner, but not the
hello?
special victims unit.
Right.
Let me give you a tip.
Let me help you do your job one more time.
It's true. She basically is doing all the detective
That's
work.
always her role, right? Also, how does she know her? Do they play bridge together? Did they meet walking their dogs? They never explain how these relationships originated, ever.
They share isotopes, apparently. Hey, and one of those things you realize should happen like way more often, because when it does happen, you're like, oh, that's bad, but it's kind of great, is when Liv goes undercover as a madam and Finn is her bodyguard.
I need 8 girls. Newcomers. The younger, the better.
I mean, let's talk about you. Where are you from?
Chicago.
Lots of pretty girls there.
Yes, indeed.
Can you shop at home?
I have very important clients that come here for work. I need to service them locally.
She says this like really creepy line. Like she was ready. She was like, I need 8 girls. And I was first like, why 8? I was like, that's a big number. I was like 4, 6. She was like, I need 8 girls. The younger, the better. And I was like, okay, you really sold it on the creepy. I was like, I'm uncomfortable.
She was hot though, right? Didn't she look good?
Yeah, she looked so good in the fur, and I was like, I like her hair this season, like the swoop, like
the lob,
the side, the highlights. Yeah, it was working. And then like when she inspects the girls, she knew exactly what to do. She was like, open your mouth.
This one's teeth are a rotten mess. You got to get off the meth, honey. No, Sam.
You think I let my girl shoot at?
Not in their arms. Between their toes, maybe.
Take your socks off. I was like, what?
She treated them like horses. Let's look at good
I was
teeth.
like, hello.
Teeth and hooves.
Those poor girls.
Yeah, that's when you know you're getting a quality sex trafficked girl.
Exactly.
It's like when the produce guy goes to the pile of apples first. He's like, no, this one's rotten. Throw this one away. It's got track marks in her toes.
So you're saying this is the sex trafficking equivalent of like knocking on melons?
Exactly.
Something she wasn't actually buying them, and she still said no to one of them. I was like, that poor girl's self-esteem after this, you know?
She fake rejected a fake purchase of a fake sex trafficked girl. So now this poor girl was like, wait, you're not even a madam and you still didn't want me? You're a cop and you still felt comfortable rejecting me?
Yeah, she's got to like rethink her career choice, right? Maybe I should do something else. So let's take a little 5-minute diversion and talk about the cast. We get to see somebody before they were famous.
Yes.
Before they were famous.
Who is the actress playing super psycho chess nerd Jennifer Banks?
Everything came easy to Elsa. She didn't take notes and she didn't cram all night like the rest of us.
That's Sarah Hyland. She's most known for being on Modern Family, I think, but she's been on a couple other things, a couple Disney movies. I think she's in all those Taco Bell commercials with Joe Keery now. That's when I see her the most, but Sarah Hyland.
Yeah.
She outacts everybody in this episode. She is so freaking good. You can see why she became like a famous actress and got the Modern Family. You can see the genes are all there. She just brings it in this episode in a way that I so campy love.
4 Law & Order franchise appearances, including one that we did called Repression, where she played a child who was not actually molested by her dad, even though everybody thought so.
Why is everybody mad at my daddy?
I'm not laughing because that's funny. I'm laughing because that's how this show is.
That's how it was. So at age 9, Sarah was diagnosed with a kidney disorder. Her father donated a kidney to her in 2012, and 4 years later, she started rejecting it. She had a second transplant using her brother's kidney. Do you guys know this, by the way? I mean, this is like a...
No. Never heard of this before.
Yeah,
Tell me more.
This all happened like while she's on Modern Family.
I want to know more.
Let's see. She also suffers from endometriosis and a hernia.
That I knew.
She's had 16 different operations. Lily, do you think I would give you a kidney?
Yeah.
What would I ask for in return, though? That's the question.
I have a follow-up. Do you think he would give you a kidney after I gave him a talking to about giving you a kidney?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it would go. That's how it would go.
Well, if
like this is the guy who like lets his daughter buy him a milkshake at Wendy's, and I'm like, you're the
one
dad.
fucking time. One time.
You're supposed to buy the milkshake for your kids, the Frosty or whatever it's called.
I'm teaching her how to, be generous with her money.
To her dad.
Oh, shut up. That's it. No kidney. Absolutely no kidney.
I think you would give me a kidney in exchange for a Wendy's milkshake.
Yeah. But then I'll just hear bitching about it for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Here's a personal quote from Sarah. I love Neutrogena's makeup remover cleansing wipes. They get all my makeup off.
Yes, they do.
That is what they're supposed to do. Yes.
Was she a spokesperson for Neutrogena when she said that?
I hope so. I hope she just wasn't in some interview and said, you know what?
Working for that money.
I think it was one of those things, Lily, in the back of women's magazines where it's like what they have in their purse.
Yeah.
And it's like the fake contents where like all the mascara looks brand new and shit. And they're like, I like this the best because when I swim wearing my Speedo bathing suit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you want to know what's in my purse? Wrappers, not.
And gum-covered coins.
Well, she probably also has some anti-rejection drugs in there and
probably
an excuse for why she can't have grapefruit.
Yeah, she can never have grapefruit or a Cara orange because that's part grapefruit.
Oh, really?
Fun fact.
Yeah. We have a Hey, It's That Girl.
Hey, it's that girl.
Who's playing the tossed-aside sister Katrina?
Elsa was Papa's exotic flower. She needed devoted care and attention to flourish.
I don't know her name.
I don't know her name, but wasn't she was in Wolf of Wall Street.
She's Stormfront in The Boys, which we have been watching voraciously, and you had to sort of like point that out. I was like, I know. I saw her in something yesterday. She is a chameleon, and she's really great.
Her name's Anya Cash. Right, the 100-year-old Nazi Stormfront superhero on Prime's The Boys. 3 Law & Order appearances. She gets the trifecta. She co-starred with one of our previous guests, Janet Varney, on the TV show You're the Worst.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. She got 5 out of 5 stars on WikiFeet.
Oh, ew. Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
I don't even want to know.
It's a website where users rate actors and actresses' feet.
Ew.
Ew.
Yeah, apparently she's got gorgeous feet. 5 out of 5. Which is Mariska has 4.5. So that's something.
Yeah. Mariska also has $4.5 billion from being on the show for 35 years.
Do something about your feet. Hey, did anyone recognize the actor playing chemistry genius Brian?
No.
I'm not some little kid playing Paro here. I already have 3 patents on my work.
That's Eric Gores, an actor with cerebral palsy. He is the son of billionaire Alec Gores of the Gores Group.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah, over the years, they've acquired over 80 different companies, distress companies, and then they build them up and sell them off or whatever.
Oh, he's one of those.
Yeah, one of those.
A turnaround guy, a.k.a. the guy who gets a lot of people fired and a lot of jobs eliminated.
So they currently own a plastics company, a network that services jukeboxes. Do you know what a jukebox is, Lily?
I know what a jukebox is,
okay.
Yes. They used to have one at the Covered Bridge.
True.
Oh, that's true, yeah. So every time you stuck $1 in, apparently,
you listen to some Uncle Rock.
Yeah.
At our local tavern.
They also own right now Hostess Cakes.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they going to turn that around?
Well, I mean,
how can they improve?
If not for them, there'd be no more Twinkies.
Exactly.
So.
How could they possibly improve the Hostess cake?
Yeah. The father, Al Gore, apparently he has one of the largest houses in Los Angeles, and he once lost tens of millions of dollars. I forget the exact amount, but tens of millions of dollars gambling at backgammon against a world champion.
Oh.
Which, once you get into a hole, you probably should.
Yeah, although I have recently learned about Los Angeles' burgeoning, thriving backgammon community and something else that we've been consuming. It's a thing there. It's like underground poker. Remember in the 70s and 80s, the whole backgammon Chippendales situation? Come on now, you know.
So we visit Morewood Academy, which, by the way, is the same name as that Ukrainian brothel we were at. Morewood Academy.
Ew.
We meet Jennifer, who says Elsa.
When she snuck out, she dressed kind of slutty.
And then Liv says, "Oh yeah."
Will you show me?
Show me.
And Elsa's like, look at this box of slut gear. And of course, there's a thong just sitting like right on top. Like that's how you would put your thong away. Everyone knows you hide your thong under other shit. Everyone knows that even when you go to the doctor's office, you take off your clothes and you put them on the chair. And even though the doctor's about to see you naked, you always put your underwear at the bottom. Am I right, Lily Flynn?
Yes. You do not let anyone know what underwear you were wearing that day. She says, she was like, she has to hide it because she'd get in trouble. There's a dress code. That's what she says. There's a dress code at this school. She'd be in trouble for even having it. And I was like, what?
Do they check for thongs at this school?
I was like, what do you mean you check?
You get a demerit for having a thong in your room.
If you don't have visible panty lines, demerit.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, she has a thong. What a cum dumpster. Whoa.
Ew.
You always get along with your dorm mates, Lily? Or
I don't think any of my roommates would know me well enough to know where I keep my slutty clothes.
Yes.
My roommate this year that I share an apartment with, I was really in the depths of SVU, and I was like, I have a really weird question for you. And I was like, we should just tell each other who we think, if one of us was murdered and the police ask the roommate first, who do you think did it? Like, we should just give each other a name now. So my roommate and I have covered ourselves because I'm like, I hate that when the roommate's like, I don't know her that well. And I'm like, you have to be able to tell them who killed me. Yes. That's your job.
100%.
It's your one job.
You think you know who did it.
If nothing else, you can leave your dirty dishes in the sink, but be my good witness.
Exactly.
So Katerina, the sister, says she was burned with cigarettes, beaten, and then kicked out of the house because her sister's IQ was 165 and hers was only 135. I'm thinking, well, maybe if you had a better fucking attitude, Katrina, you're going to get kicked out of the house.
Maybe if you just tried harder.
Yeah.
Pick yourself up by your IQ bootstraps, Katrina. This is America.
You're supposed to be smart. Can't you do something about all that rice that you have to kneel on? I mean, come on.
Oh my God, the rice. Oh.
What's with the rice? You forced you to eat down here too?
No. He made us kneel on it while he drilled us. It's not so bad at first. But after a while, the grains dig into your skin and you start to bleed.
That's what I do to your dad when I find out that he made you buy his milkshake.
Kneel on the rice.
Kneel on this rice.
Right, and to show the scars on her knees, she just kind of hikes up her weird little skirt.
Yep.
And it looks like she's got maggots.
Yes.
Yeah,
ugh.
I was like, who faked that? Hair and makeup did a weird job. When Katrina's showing them their hothouse that's freezing cold, but it's referring to a greenhouse and orchids and all that creepy stuff. Then the detectives are like, clearly you've been abused by your father. And then they arrest the father for assaulting Elsa and not her, not the live witness. I was I go, hold on.
Again, she's cut out.
It doesn't matter. Her IQ's only 135.
She's so invisible.
Yeah. No one sees her. I see you. I see you,
Katrina.
Girl whose name I did not know, except for the fact that you're on another show I watched. I see you.
So this is something I haven't seen before, is that when confronted with his bad fathering, Lykoff bangs his head into the wall over and over again till he knocks himself out.
God, forgive me! Get down, Joseph! Get out! Forgive me! Get down! Elsa! Stop it! Elsa! Joseph, stop it! Elsa! Stop it! Forgive me! Captain!
And then doesn't have to be questioned any further.
Yeah, and apparently there are no consequences for the systemic child abuse he's been subjecting his children to for their entire lives.
Oh, that comes later.
We never see him again. He's just, this is the
true.
last scene, right? Gone.
It was unnecessarily aggressive. I was like, okay.
It's a little extra.
I feel like it's what Elliot would do if he were arrested. I'm not going to lie.
Kathleen!
Don't you know? I have daughters.
All right, now let's take a look at the second half of this episode. Mr. Lichkoff is taken away in a stretcher. Although he's confessed about the abuse of Elsa, Finn's got proof that he's not the killer.
I called the casinos down in AC. A couple of the pit bosses say Lichkoff's a regular. They sent his surveillance photo. He was there the day Elsa was murdered. Guy's a creep. He's just not our creep.
This guy must have felt pretty guilty about the abuse he put Elsa through to bash his head in like
All right,
that.
so Dad's off the hook. I guess we take another look at the school.
Students say Elsa did not get along with her roommate Jennifer. When they bring her in with her mom, Jennifer tweaks out, saying she wanted to be the smartest kid in the school, and Elsa wouldn't give her the time of day. Jennifer admits to following her on the Hudson River ferry, but when Elsa refused to talk to her, Jennifer slammed her head and threw her in the water. The detectives learned the body went into the water on the New Jersey side, where they can charge juveniles as adults. After Jennifer has a manic freak out in court, she tells Benson that she's been awake for days after using a drug called Provigil to keep her up and be so productive. In her dorm room, Liv finds her stash of pills and her journal filled with the ramblings of a crazed person. Warner says being that sleep-deprived would have made her psychotic. Well, the cold-hearted New Jersey DA is unmoved until Benson tells her the story of a cop so sleep-deprived he mistook his asthma inhaler for his gun. And the DA, who I'm just going to assume is also asthmatic, decides to try her as a juvenile, so she'll still have a chance at a normal life when she's released at 21. Okay, so with the dad out of the picture, they go back to Morewood Academy, and they start talking to some bad boys.
Geniuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that they went there and that they didn't use Hudson.
We are Hudson, where the bad guys go to school.
Yes, Hudson Academy.
That would be, I think that would track.
That'd be funny.
Hudson Preparatory High School. You know how some of those fancy colleges have like a preparatory high school next door? You think what was it, Morewood is the preparatory high school for Hudson? Because we all know how Hudson is so competitive.
Yeah, because it's Hudson, where the bad guys go to juvie.
Yikes.
So they talk to a kid who's a chem genius, kid who's good at math problems.
Yep.
He's got the blackboard, looks like he's in Goodwill Hunting.
Yep.
They talk to the biology guy.
The PowerPoint kid, yep.
PowerPoint kid before they come to the bad boy musician.
The theremin kid.
The kid with the theremin.
Maximize your potential. Baby.
It's because he wants to play the solo in Good Vibrations.
Oh my God. This Parade of Geniuses was the funniest, cuts of scenes I have seen in this show in a very long time. First of all white boys, right? And by the way, Finn was saying that kids were dragged out of his, quote, hood to go to this school.
The brainiacs.
I didn't see anyone.
Where are those kids? Everybody here is white.
As rich, yep.
And rich. And also, the kids are all like everybody they've ever interviewed on this show, like in The Gap, who won't stop folding sweaters while talking to cops. But what these kids are doing is so unimportant. Like, there's Goodwill Hunting writing on the chalkboard. There's Good Vibrations kid. It is obscenely insane, and I loved it. I loved every second of it.
And they chose to interview them because they all have records, but they were for the most random assortment of crimes. Did you notice that they were he accidentally started a fire because he was doing a chemistry experiment? I was like, yeah, he's your killer, all right.
Yeah.
When they meet Danny, he says that Elsa and Jennifer fought. And then when they're asked, well, what that's like, he says,
Did you ever see a nerd spaz out? It's ugly.
Ugh, that's so inappropriate. The word spaz, by the way, is an epithet that no one should ever use.
Really?
Yes! Look it up!
Oh, all right. I don't know if I want to look it up. But I mean, please, dude, there are no cool kids at that school. You're all fucking nerds. So just shut up.
Jennifer is pretty cool. Just saying. And besides for the murdery part. She's otherwise, she's like Queen's Gambit. I mean, she's pretty freaking
I don't know.
cool.
Is that how you get to be the queen bee? It's like, oh, hey, check out that chess girl.
That hot chess girl with the thumb.
She has perfect hair, even though she's 14, so she's not wearing any makeup. She still has perfect hair. I was
and
like,
those big doe eyes, her big, beautiful Sarah Hyland doe eyes.
Should have a lot of black rings underneath them, apparently, because she's not getting any sleep. Jennifer agrees to talk to the cops with her mom and not with a lawyer there, so she really isn't as smart as we think she is, right?
True, facts.
First off, Sarah Hyland, mad props for delivering a performance that's unhinged but is not overacting.
She called me a loser. She said I was pathetic and dumb and that I was only at Morewood because my family is rich, that I'd never be able to make enough brains alone like her. She tried walking away, and so I grabbed her arm and she pushed me. So I jabbed her chest with my pen and she pushed me again.
Stop!
And so I pulled her hair and I slammed her head into the railing over and over and over again.
Oh, it's a little bit overacting, but in a good way. In the SVU world, that's what they want. Mm-hmm. She is so good in this episode. She's a great crier. She's a great screamer. Not 100 that I believe that her IQ was only 5 points lower than the 165 person, and therefore that makes her irrelevant because 160 and 165, pretty much the same freaking thing, right? But no, she's amazing, and you can tell she is a star already in this episode.
I thought it was really, really good. I don't know how old she actually was, the actress, but I thought she did a really great job. She kind of unraveled slowly in the interview, and then she just snapped. When she like describes like banging her head and she's like hitting the wall, I was like, okay, that's crazy. I was like, she's being crazy good right now.
Yep.
So Liv finds Jennifer's journal and flips through it. And then, the first few pages are filled like line to line in small, neat print. And then she turns over more pages and the sentences spin into this E.E. Cummings poem. And all I could think of was like, man, some PA on the set had to fill out those pages in the diary.
Yeah.
For like hours and hours for like one shot.
Yeah. Somebody's like niece did that, like as a art project.
I just think some unlucky person was like, hey, Teresa, come here for a minute. Let me see your handwriting. Okay. Once Larry gets finished covering all these chalkboards with nonsense mathematical equations, I need you to fill out this diary.
Yeah. How does Liv, like, all of a sudden become Jennifer's lawyer? Like, it's so weird how she just, like, hops to and all of a sudden is, like, totally on her side. I mean, I watched this episode before, like, as part of a marathon. And, like, literally in the episode before, Liv is like, I'll do anything to catch this monster. I don't care if he's 15. And in this one, she's like, man, look at this notebook. This girl is trouble. I need to help.
Well, she's all for the victims, unless they're killers.
Yeah.
Unless they're girl killers.
Girl killers, yeah.
Just because, Greylock, she tells them and so dramatically, it's a New Jersey case. They're like, dun, dun, dun. And they go and they meet that terrible New Jersey prosecutor. That New Jersey prosecutor had a really funny line when they're begging, Elliot and Liv are begging her, don't charge her as an adult. And Liv goes, are you the same person you were at 14? And the prosecutor goes, I wasn't a murderer at 14. I was like, whoa.
Snap.
Are you sure, though?
Yeah.
So Jennifer gets removed from the courtroom, and then she's in a holding cell talking to Liv. Again, without the lawyer she was just standing next to.
Yes.
So I don't think she's as smart as she says.
Jersey rules.
She says she's got a stash of Provisional pills in her dorm, and so Liv goes back. No warrant, of course. So again, the actual fuck. And finds the pills by slicing open the binding of a textbook, which we all know probably costs $700.
Yeah.
That's no chance of returning that to the bookstore at the end of the semester. So if she's popping these pills like candy, why is she going to the trouble of sewing them back into the binding of a book?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little odd to me. I was like, what a weird place to keep your drugs. What a weird place to keep your drugs when you just admitted the school knows they're all on drugs. Like, why go through all this trouble of hiding it?
That's right. I mean, the school knows it, but they're not okay with thongs, A.
Yeah. It is a pretty elaborate way of hiding your pills. I mean, smokers don't hide their cigarettes by keeping them behind a revolving bookcase. Follow me into the Batcave.
Well, you've
where
never
I can
found
have
mine, right?
What? You're smoking?
My
You
cigarettes.
smokes?
No, I don't smoke. Of course not.
Of course not.
Start cutting open books in your house.
And the way apparently that, Benson is able to convince this cold-hearted New Jersey prosecutor, hey,
So bizarre.
Yeah, gotta get the gabagoo.
Oh, you mean she makes up the fake story about her fake cop friend?
I knew a cop who worked a double homicide for 41 hours straight, then went home and went to bed. He had an asthma attack, so he reached for his inhaler, but he grabbed his service revolver instead. He put it in his mouth and he blew his brains out. What do you want from me? I want you to read Jennifer's journal.
That wasn't a real story. 100%. If it were, we would have heard it before or after on this show, not just in this one episode. I swear to God, because Liv brings up her tragedies constantly.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine how somebody would confuse their service weapon with the inhaler. Do you think he picked the gun up and shook it first?
I was like...
and then put it in his mouth?
I don't know. I was like, that story was so weird. It was like, and it was in the last 6 minutes. I was like starting to put my notes down. I was like, nope, gotta write this down. I was also like, how would you, okay, hypothetically, it's true, and he accidentally shot himself. How did you know it was because of sleep deprivation?
Right.
Who's there to tell? How do you know he didn't sleep before that?
Yeah.
Because he died.
He had an asthma.
I was like, this whole story doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense at all. But also, why is that New Jersey prosecutor such a BHAG? They really hate New Jersey on this show. Once again, proof that whoever writes this show hates New Jersey.
Not just the show. Well, let's take a look at the real-life story that inspired this episode. It's time for Ripped from the Headlines.
You think you know who did it. You think you know who did it. it, but you don't know who did it. You don't know who did it. Ripped from the headlines.
Plot points in this episode deal with controversies around the diagnosis and treatments of attention deficit hyperactivity disorders in children. Once considered just rambunctious misbehavior, researchers in the 1970s identified ADHD as a neurodevelopmental disorder. But in some quarters, it still lacks acceptance by some doctors, teachers, and parents. One issue is that, unlike other disorders, there is no standard test for diagnosis. There are a wide range of symptoms, and they vary from child to child. Symptoms like impulse control, lack of focus, or forgetfulness also appear in other disorders. There are parents who fear diagnosing their child with a learning disability will put a label on them, or they believe their symptoms can be controlled with more discipline. Some accuse doctors and teachers of over-identifying ADHD in an effort to increase special education funding from the government. The most common treatment is behaviour therapy and medication, but critics oppose prescribing stimulants to young children. They accuse drug companies of predatory behaviour and accuse parents of seeking an easy solution for their children's problems. While acknowledging more data on the long-term effects is needed, the National Institutes of Health say stimulants are an effective treatment for attention deficit disorders.
Okay, two interesting perspectives here today, Rebecca.
Yes?
As someone with ADD, I'm going to come to you second.
Okay, I have thoughts.
Yes, I know you do, and that's a part of the attention game. Can you wait?
No, okay. I'll just look at my phone right now.
Look at your phone, squirrel. Lily, you're studying education in college. So, what are future teachers being told about dealing with students and ADD, and how medications play into their education?
I haven't had a lot of classes on this. I personally would prefer medication that helps them. That's what they should take. It's to me. I mean, I know it's controversial, but to me, if you need something, you should take it. And if your kid needs something, you should let them take it. If it makes them focus, helps them focus. And I think Rebecca's right that a lot of times TV shows easily just say, oh, they bought this drug that, it's prescribed to some kids. Like those kids that take it, that need it, I think that's unfair to say that a lot of them will then sell it, because that's not fair.
Yeah. You know what a lot of this comes down to?
What?
Is the America's favorite hobby of parent shaming.
Ah, right.
There's this idea that if you give your kid a medication that not only, it's not about making them behave better, it's about making their life easier.
Yeah.
I was not diagnosed as a kid. I was diagnosed as an adult and went from a person who had dropped out of college and had 20-something jobs to a person who finished her degree and started a career that I've been doing now for 10 years, pretty successfully. It actually makes your life easier. And there's some shame around, parents just want to have it easier. Of course they fucking want to have it easier. What is the matter with that? What is the matter with saying, this is impossible. I can't parent through this. Is there anything that can help me? We don't say that about taking sugar out of diets. We don't say that about giving kids insulin when they have, diabetes. This is the only thing, seemingly, that gets judged. And I really do think it's about parent shaming.
Yeah, but I think even more so than parent shaming, in a lot of cases, it's more teacher shaming.
Some of that too, yeah.
Because they're the ones
they want it easier. Or
right.
whatever.
Now, what I know about this is what I learned from Lily's mom. And let's be honest, we all know she must be listening to this podcast for at least the first time. So hi, Patty. Everybody say hi,
Hey, Patty.
Is that a lot of times parents just think, no, my kid is just rambunctious and he just needs to take a lap. And don't, for some of the reasons I talked about, say, look.
That's parent shaming. That's parent self-shaming. It's those same parents who are like, if my kid has more than 30 minutes of screen time a day, they're going to be ruined. Mm-hmm. That is not true. That is a thing that parents have come to believe. They believe if they are perfect, their kids will be perfect. But there's no such thing as perfect, especially when you have something complicated. And teachers, man, they deal with 100 kids every year after year after year after year. And what I have learned more than anything else is if I want to know what's up with my kid, for real, I say to the teacher, have you seen this before? What helped? Because I want to do that. Go, teachers, go.
Lily, we hear a lot about students who are not prescribed something like Adderall or Ritalin, taking it as a study aid or whatever. I know that you have smelled a lot of pot in the dorms. and you have taken distilled spirits from red Solo cups. Have you seen a lot of this on campus still, or I mean, is it just maybe not being?
I saw it more in high school than college, I think, because the stress of high school is different than the stress of college, because in high school you're prepping for college, you're prepping for the rest of your life. Like, people are way more intense in high school.
And your parents are looking at you the whole time.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of at least I don't know a lot of people that feel the urge to push themselves that hard in college. They feel like college is already hard enough, and that's them just prepping. They're just looking for jobs. Like, college is like, it's time to start getting my stuff together. High school is like, I gotta go. I gotta get the A. I gotta get the, So I have seen it, but not in college as much.
So a lot of times on SVU, they make up a fake drug,
yes,
right? Is to be the
not this time.
Not the villain. No, Providual's a real drug. It's
yes,
one of the so-called smart drugs known as nootropics. 15 years later, though, the reviews on Providual aren't actually that bad. Providual is an anti-narcolepsy drug, and its off-label use has been used as a wakefulness promoter. It's not a stimulant. According to the literature, unlike Adderall or Ritalin, it doesn't provide the same kind of high and is generally not addictive. So it hasn't become like a popular street drug.
Yeah.
The FDA denied requests, though, to be described as an ADD medication because of certain side effects like skin disorders and things like that, some weird stuff. It is prescribed to long-distance truck drivers, and as I said in the episode, the Army did give it to troops in Iraq. So why does it still feel a little suspect to take a pill to stay awake and think more clearly? Doesn't feel a little...
That's literally what Providual is for. They also prescribe it for narcolepsy.
Yeah, well, that's what
people
it's
with
for,
sleep
literally.
apnea. So here's the thing. I think that it's kind of like athletes doing steroids, right? I mean, on the one hand, you can say, why not? Just let them do steroids. Let's just have the steroid Olympics. Like, I want to see the person run 100 meters in 4 seconds. Like, that would be fun. On the other hand, there's a thing where it's just not fair. And it's also potentially not healthy. If you don't need a drug, you obviously shouldn't take a drug. And one of the ways ADHD is diagnosed is you let them try the medication. And if it helps, they have ADHD. If it doesn't help and just makes you high and awake, you probably don't have ADHD. You probably it's just a stimulant for you. So yeah, it's not cool for kids to use neurologically changing drugs if they don't need them. And also, I have issues with the privilege of it, because this is a thing that like rich white kids can do to get an advantage that like poor kids can't do to get an advantage. Because guess what?
Right.
They're not getting those pills for free.
Well, a lot of people are taking that. They're adults and professionals and stuff like this who are taking a drug. It's like omega-3s and things like that. It's a cognitive improving substance.
You take Red Bull, man. You drink that shit.
Some people take that. Well, does it feel the same thing or is it different? With ADD meds, you're correcting something. This just seems like, no, you're taking the baseline and making it better.
I think Rebecca's right. It's different because if you have ADHD and you don't have ADHD, whether it acts as a depressant or a stimulant, obviously it feels like a big deal because she's only 14. And she was like, I wanted more. So I think in the jail cell, she tells Liv, I bought 3 more pills. And I was like, at 14, I didn't have drug money. So obviously, somebody in your house knows.
That's because you were too busy buying milkshakes for your dad.
It feels like it's hard because it feels like she, in the environment of this school, has pushed all the kids to feel like they have to be better. They have to work harder. They have to succeed to the extent that they've pushed themselves to kind of get sick, when that's not the purpose of Providual. That's not Providual's fault. I think it's more the school's fault for
hell yeah it is
creating an environment like that.
So my question is, why wasn't it Finn that was the one who dumped all the knowledge on this drug like he usually does?
Facts.
It's like, street name is Pony Gravy. Kids try it at parties. Next thing you know, they're on a stoop getting paid, writing fake Yelp reviews about pork chops.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, that's going to do it for us. We want to thank our special guest, my daughter. My favorite daughter, the one that I didn't kick out of the house for not being smart enough.
That's right.
Lily Flynn. Lily, where can our listeners follow you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at Lily, Lily Flynn, and that's probably the best place to find me. You can also follow me on Twitter. I often get tagged in your tweets. I think I have a different Twitter handle, but
you don't even know what your Twitter handle.
I think it's Flynnigan. I think I made it when I was.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm sorry. You can also follow me on Twitter at Flynnigan Lily.
Great.
And Rebecca Lavoie, how can our listeners follow you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's a lot about dogs, politics, and crime at Reb Lavoie.
And you can track me on Twitter at Kevin P. Flynn. You can also tweet to us at Law & Order Pod or follow us on Instagram at These Are the Stories Podcast. Our newsreader was Cy Frater. Our theme music was composed and performed by Uncanny Valleys. Line editing by Henry Lavoie. Content assistance from Travis Roy. The aforementioned Lily Flynn handles promotions. To get ad-free episodes of These Are the Stories a week early, sign up at Stitcher Premium. All clips in this podcast were used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act Fair Use Exemption for criticism and commentary. Special thanks to the elite squad of the Law & Order Wiki community for preserving the evidence. Go to lawandorderpodcast.com and sign up for our newsletter for a chance to be our next Law & Order Marathon winner. These Are Their Stories was recorded in the Yoga Loft above the Bodega in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio and is a production of Partners in Crime Media.
Partners in Crime Media.